Imagine everything you thought you knew about the Marvel Cinematic Universe being a complete lie. What if I told you that Tony Stark, the beloved Iron Man played by Robert Downey Jr., was never meant to be a hero at all? What if he was designed from the start to become Doctor Doom, the most iconic villain of Marvel Comics? And even crazier, what if Kang the Conqueror himself engineered Tony's entire existence for a larger, mind-blowing purpose that is only now being revealed? Was Iron Man's rise to power part of a grand multiversal chess game? Was Tony Stark ever truly a good guy or just a pawn? Did Marvel Studios hide clues right in front of us for over a decade? And is Robert Downey Jr. actually coming back, but not as the hero we remember? Today, we're diving deep into one of the craziest MCU theories out there, a theory that flips the entire Marvel story upside down. Stay until the end, because once you hear the evidence, you'll never watch the MCU the same way again. Let's get into it. Before we unravel Tony Stark's shocking connection to Doctor Doom, let's break down who Victor Von Doom actually is. He's not just another Marvel bad guy in a cool mask. Victor Von Doom is one of the most complex, brilliant, and ruthless characters in comic book history. A genius scientist, a master sorcerer, and the iron-fisted ruler of the nation of Latveria, Doom is a force of nature. But here's what makes him fascinating. He's not evil just for kicks. Doom genuinely believes he's humanity's only hope for salvation, but only if he controls every single aspect of the world. Now pause for a second. A genius who relies on cutting-edge technology, has a controlling streak, and thinks he's the only one who can save the planet? Does that remind you of anyone? Maybe someone with a goatee, a shiny suit of armor, and a knack for witty one-liners? Exactly. The parallels between Doctor Doom and Tony Stark are eerie, and they're only the beginning. Let's take a step back and look at Tony Stark's arc in the MCU with fresh eyes. When we first meet him in Iron Man 2008, he's not exactly Captain America material. Tony is a billionaire weapons dealer, profiting off global conflict and destruction. Sure, he has a change of heart after his capture in Afghanistan, but let's be real, that shift comes from personal trauma, not some deep well of selflessness. Even as he becomes Iron Man, Tony's journey is never purely heroic. Think about it. Tony's obsessed with control. He builds Ultron in Avengers, Age of Ultron, because he wants to put a suit of armor around the world. That backfires spectacularly, creating a genocidal AI. He pushes for the Sokovia Accords in Captain America, Civil War, fracturing the Avengers because he believes he knows what's best. His solutions, driven by brilliance and arrogance, often create bigger problems than the ones he's trying to solve. Now compare that to Doctor Doom. Doom's defining trait is his unshakable belief that he alone can save humanity, even if it means ruling with absolute power. His intelligence is matched only by his arrogance, and his plans, while ingenious, often spiral into chaos. Are Tony Stark and Doctor Doom really that different? Or are they two sides of the same coin, separated only by a few key choices? Here's where this theory goes from intriguing to absolutely bonkers. Kang the Conqueror, introduced in Loki and set to be the MCU's next Thanos-level threat, isn't just a time-traveling warlord. He's a master manipulator who plays with entire timelines and realities like they're pieces on a chessboard. According to this theory, Kang didn't just stumble across Tony Stark. He created him, or at least he engineered the circumstances that made Tony who he is. Why would Kang do this? Because he needed someone in the 616 timeline, the main MCU reality, to push humanity to new heights. Kang needed a genius who could advance technology to an insane degree, laying the groundwork for multiversal wars without even realizing it. Enter Tony Stark, the perfect candidate. The theory suggests Kang subtly influenced key moments in Tony's life. He ensured Howard Stark, Tony's father, had access to advanced technology decades ahead of its time. He nudged events to push Tony toward building the first Iron Man suit in that cave in Afghanistan. Through Tony, humanity developed the Tools Arc reactors, nanotechnology, time travel that would make multiversal domination and resistance possible. Tony Stark wasn't just a random billionaire with a knack for inventing. He was Kang's ultimate weapon, a pawn who thought he was a king, shaping the future exactly as Kang intended. If this theory sounds like a stretch, hold on, because Marvel might have been dropping hints about this for years. Let's go through the evidence clues hidden in plain sight across the MCU. Clue 1. Howard Stark's tech was always too advanced. Rewatch Captain America, The First Avenger. In the 1940s, Howard Stark is showcasing hovercar technology at the Stark Expo. Hovercars. In the 1940s. Later, we learned the arc reactor, supposedly a futuristic breakthrough, already existed when Tony was a kid, tucked away in Howard's lab. Stark Industries is consistently portrayed as being decades ahead of its competitors. How is this possible? Could Kang have seeded these advancements, giving Howard just enough knowledge to set Tony on the path to greatness? Clue 2. Tony's nightmares in Age of Ultron. In Avengers Age of Ultron, Scarlet Witch shows Tony a vision of Earth destroyed, with the Avengers dead and Tony to blame. He calls it a nightmare, but what if it wasn't just a fear? What if Kang, with his ability to manipulate time and perception, sent these visions to push Tony further? By showing Tony a doomed future, Kang could have motivated him to escalate the global arms race, building more suits, more tech, and eventually Ultron, all of which played into Kang's larger plan. Clue 3. Iron Man's armor parallels Dr. Doom's. This one's hard to ignore. Both Tony Stark and Dr. Doom are armored geniuses who wield technology like it's magic. Both are obsessed with control, using their suits to dominate their enemies. In Avengers Infinity War, Tony takes it a step further, merging magic and tech with his nanotech suit, which adapts and evolves in ways that feel almost supernatural. That's a signature Dr. Doom move, blending science and sorcery. The similarities are too striking to be a coincidence. Clue 4. Tony opened the multiverse. Here's the kicker. Without Tony Stark, the multiverse as we know it in the MCU wouldn't exist. In Avengers Endgame, Tony invents time travel, allowing the Avengers to pull off the time heist. But that meddling with time cracks reality wide open, paving the way for Kang's rise in Loki and beyond. Tony's tech didn't just save the universe, it destabilized it, giving Kang the chaos he needed to conquer. In other words, Tony was Kang's Trojan horse, hidden in plain sight. If this theory is true, why didn't Marvel reveal it sooner? The answer is simple. They needed us to fall in love with Tony Stark. The Infinity Saga, spanning Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, is built on Tony's emotional journey. He's the flawed, relatable heart of the MCU. If Marvel had hinted early on that Tony was a proto-Doctor Doom, it would have shattered the audience's connection to him. Instead, Marvel played the long game. They crafted Tony as the ultimate hero, charismatic, self-sacrificing, and unforgettable. Now, in phases 5 and 6, with the multiverse taking center stage, they can pull back the curtain and reveal the darker truth. Tony was always on a knife's edge between heroism and villainy. It's storytelling genius, blending emotional payoff with shocking twists, and it fits perfectly with the darker, more complex tone Marvel is exploring in projects like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Avengers Secret Wars. Now, let's talk about the most exciting part, Robert Downey Jr.'s potential return to the MCU. RDJ has said publicly that he's open to coming back, but only for something new, something unexpected. What could be more unexpected than RDJ returning not as Iron Man, but as Victor Von Doom? Picture this, a multiverse variant of Tony Stark who, in another reality, took a darker path and became Dr. Doom. Or maybe a reality where Tony's latent Doom persona, his arrogance, his need for control, finally takes over, transforming him into the villain he was always destined to be. RDJ playing Doom would be a masterstroke, honoring his legacy as Tony Stark while pushing the MCU into bold, terrifying new territory. This idea aligns perfectly with Marvel's current obsession with different versions of characters across different realities. We've seen variants of Loki, Doctor Strange, and even Spider-Man. Why not a Tony Stark who is Dr. Doom? It's the kind of game-changing twist that would send shockwaves through the fandom and redefine the MCU forever. Let's play devil's advocate for a moment. This theory is wild, but it's not bulletproof. Here are some counter-arguments to consider. First, Victor Von Doom is a well-established character in Marvel Comics with his own rich history tied to the Fantastic Four. Would Marvel really merge him with Tony Stark, potentially alienating fans who love Doom as a standalone villain? Second, the Fantastic Four are finally joining the MCU in 2025, and Doom is traditionally their arch-nemesis. Introducing a Stark Doom could confuse casual viewers who aren't deep into multiverse lore. Finally, there's Tony's sacrifice in Avengers Endgame. His death, wielding the Infinity Gauntlet to defeat Thanos, was the ultimate heroic act. Would Marvel risk cheapening that moment by bringing RDJ back as a villain? It's a valid concern. But here's the counter to the counter. The multiverse makes anything possible. Marvel could keep the classic Victor Von Doom for the Fantastic Four while still exploring a multiverse variant where Tony Stark becomes Doom. It's a way to have their cake and eat it, too, preserving Tony's legacy while delivering a shocking new arc for RDJ. Okay, let's talk about Avengers, Doomsday, the rumored culmination of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. If Tony Stark really is a multiversal variant of Doctor Doom, this movie could be the perfect place for his return. And not as the Tony Stark we knew, but as the Tony Stark we never saw coming. Here's how it could play out. In the multiverse, there are countless versions of Tony Stark. Some die young. Some never build the Iron Man suit. Some become tyrants. And in at least one universe, Tony Stark goes too far. He builds the perfect world. He eliminates war. He saves humanity at the cost of their freedom. That Tony, he becomes Doctor Doom. Avengers Doomsday could introduce this version as a false savior. At first, he's a genius leading a faction against Kang. The heroes trust him. They think he's their best shot. But as the film unfolds, it's revealed he isn't here to stop Kang. He's here to replace him. That's the Doom way. Imagine RDJ walking out of the shadows in full Doom-inspired armor, Stark tech fused with sorcery, Latverian insignias glowing, and a cold logic behind every word. It would shock the multiverse and the audience. Another possibility? The main Tony Stark, the one who died in Endgame, could be pulled from the time stream or resurrected using Kang's tech. But this version is different. His resurrection came with a cost, corrupted memories, fragmented morality, and a new understanding of the multiverse's chaos. He believes the only way to prevent another Thanos, another Kang, another multiversal collapse, is to rule it all. So he becomes a Doom-like figure, not out of ambition, but out of fear. A hero broken by cosmic truths. And that would make him the most terrifying version yet, because he believes he's still saving us. Here's the boldest version. Marvel reveals that the multiverse naturally trends toward patterns, archetypes repeating. And in many universes, the Stark lineage always leads to doom. In the final act of Avengers, Doomsday, a moment of revelation strikes. A Kang variant shows the Avengers a horrific truth. In every universe where you win, Tony becomes Doom. This hits hard. The Avengers realize they may have to destroy Tony's variant before he turns, or risk facing something worse than Kang. This sets up a battle not just of fists, but of ideologies. Would you kill the man who saved your world to stop him from destroying another? That's the kind of emotional, morally gray territory Marvel loves to explore. Let's be real, fans miss Tony Stark, but we don't want to cheapen Endgame. Bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as a full-on villain, one who mirrors everything heroic Tony once stood for, would be the perfect solution. It honors his legacy. It flips the narrative. It gives RDJ brand new material to explore as an actor. Imagine seeing RDJ deliver lines with cold menace, not wit. Imagine him battling Spider-Man, or trying to convince Doctor Strange that he's right, Tony Stark returning. Not to save the world, but to reshape it in his image? That's a climax worthy of Avengers, Doomsday. If you thought Tony Stark returning as Doom would be wild, hold on to your arc reactors. Because what if we get something even crazier? A multiversal clash between two Tonys Iron Man versus Doom Stark. In the multiverse, one Tony Stark sacrifices everything to save his universe. Endgame Tony, our hero. Another Tony Stark takes the darker path, believing control is the only way to peace. Doom Tony, the villain. When Kang fractures the multiverse in Avengers, Doomsday, variants from across realities collide. And among them, a surviving AI backup of Tony Stark, similar to what Endgame teased with Morgan's hologram, gets placed into a new Iron Man suit, a last desperate defense built by surviving Avengers. Meanwhile, Doom Tony arrives from another universe, wearing the most advanced fusion of Stark tech and Latverian sorcery ever seen. Two minds, two legacies, one final battle. This wouldn't just be a physical brawl, it would be ideological warfare. Iron Man represents sacrifice, freedom, and human flaw. Doom Tony represents absolute order, perfection through control, and godlike ambition. Their clash would symbolize the MCU's ultimate question. Is true peace worth surrendering freedom, or is messy, chaotic liberty the only true good? Imagine Iron Man using raw ingenuity, building weapons and tricks on the fly, just like in the cave back in Iron Man 1. Doom Tony countering with perfect polished sorcery-enhanced tech, effortlessly rewriting reality in battle. A brutal emotional dialogue mid-fight, with Doom Stark pleading with Iron Man to join him. You could save them all, Tony, if you just let go of your weakness. And Iron Man firing back. I'd rather die free than live under a cage you call peace. This wouldn't be just another CGI slugfest. It would be a tragedy, two versions of the same man forced to destroy each other because of the choices they made. Here's the twist. In classic Doom fashion, Doom Stark might win the fight. Because Doom always wins until his own arrogance brings him down later. It would set the stage for the surviving Avengers and new heroes, like the Fantastic Four, X-Men, or Kang variants, to have to bring Doom Stark down in the final act. This would also mirror Secret Wars comics, where Doom literally becomes God Emperor Doom, ruling over Battleworld. In the MCU's version, Tony's twisted variant could become the multiverse's new tyrant, and the true final boss after Kang. Imagine that ending. Not Kang on the throne, not Thanos, but Tony Stark wearing Doom's armor, sitting on a shattered multiversal throne. There's one more emotional gut punch Marvel could deliver. At the last possible moment, a dying Iron Man, our original Tony Stark AI, manages to reach the last shred of humanity inside Doom Stark. Maybe it's a memory of Pepper, maybe it's Morgan, maybe it's the first arc reactor Tony ever built. And in that flash of vulnerability, Doom Tony falters, realizing what he's become, leading to his own downfall, not because someone killed him, but because he couldn't live with himself. Talk about poetic justice. This battle would represent Tony's greatest triumph and greatest failure, the ultimate payoff for everything Iron Man started in 2008, a heartbreaking Shakespearean tragedy built over 20 years of storytelling. It's the perfect emotional and cinematic climax, and it proves that in the multiverse. Sometimes your greatest enemy isn't someone else, it's the you could have become. Let's wrap this up with the big picture. If this theory is true, it completely reframes Tony Stark's story. His arc isn't a triumphant rise to glory, it's a slow-motion tragedy. The story of a man who thought he was saving the world, but was actually paving the way for its destruction. The MCU isn't just about heroes defeating villains, it's about the fine line between heroism and villainy, and how easily one can become the other. Kang the Conqueror becomes even more terrifying in this context. He's not just a warlord with armies and time machines, he's a manipulator who can shape the hearts and minds of individuals, turning heroes into his unwitting weapons. Tony Stark was always doomed literally, and Marvel fooled us all with a decade-long sleight of hand. This theory doesn't just change how we see Tony Stark. It changes how we see the entire MCU. Every movie, every sacrifice, every victory takes on a new layer of meaning when you realize Kang might have been pulling the strings all along. Alright, that's the theory. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Tony Stark was always meant to become Doctor Doom? Is Kang the secret mastermind behind the entire MCU? And would you want to see RDJ return as a twisted, villainous version of Iron Man? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading all of them. If you loved this mind-bending theory, smash that like button, subscribe for more insane MCU breakdowns, and hit that bell so you never miss a deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, in the multiverse, nothing is impossible.